Hey everyone, I'm back again because I figured out a couple new tricks that I can do with my video editing software and wanted to take it out for a test drive. So I recorded myself playing the back nine at Griffin Park. I actually recorded it the next day after I did the front nine, but I've been pretty lazy in getting the video out. But with that being said, I'll get right into it. Hole 10 is definitely in the tougher half of the holes on the back nine. This first tree on the left has branches that'll kick you straight down if you miss the gap just a little too high or too left. An ideal shot will come up to the clearing here and leave you a pitch and a putt. Unfortunately, my shot is just a touch too high and catches the limbs instead of passing on up and through. And I have not the easiest upshot given that the basket is kind of tucked away back into the trees. But I play a little hyzer, hanging out left, and that's going to leave me a little pitch and a putt for bogey. While I'm doing that, if you hadn't noticed from the first two shots that I'd taken, I actually figured out how to make a shot tracer, so I hope that should improve clarity on telling where the disc is going. Hole 11 is really the easiest hole at Griffin Park. It's 200 feet with nothing but air between you and the basket. So really the only trouble on this hole is not psyching yourself out about this musket birdie. And of course, just as I say that, I nearly pull it straight left into the trees, but thankfully get quite the good rollout back towards the middle and have little more than a tap in for a 2. Hole 12, on the other hand, is much more difficult. It features a nearly 300-foot shot straight down this tunnel. You have to avoid high limbs as you close into the final gap leading to the basket. It used to be one of the only holes that I hadn't birdied on the course, but after getting this one I only have holes 2, 5, and 18 left. Today though, pull it just a little bit right with too much flip into the trees, and this leaves me a little forehand pitch up towards the basket. Thankfully I don't have too much trouble with that one, and I'm able to slide it up right on next to the basket and have just a simple tap in for par. Hole 13 is a slight dogleg left, with most people taking this small gap that is down the bottom left side. However, as you see, when I take my shot, I get a little bit creative with this one. Given this only works when the wind is down, but I think it's a lot more fun and a lot safer to go way up high and just crash it in through the leaves. Today it works out okay, but I get a little bit of a backwards roll after I hit the ground, and it brings me actually across the river. I was on the other side of that short stream, so my pitch up is a little more tricky than I would have expected it to be. For my putt, I'm left with about 20 feet and safely bring it into the chains. Hole 14 is tough because it's really narrow off the tee. There's 2 tree branches, or tree trunks rather, that will get in the way of your shot, and the fairway is still really skinny as you go down. I usually like to take a forehand on this hole, which, yeah, big surprise. My backhand is really bad at hitting lines, but the forehand lets me put it safe right up into these logs and pitch up towards the basket. I don't really like to get too aggressive on this one usually because of the water behind it, but thankfully this time I stopped short. Hole 15 is fun because if you are a lefty, you can pitch a little backhand up the left side and slide it right between these 2 trees and get all the way up to the basket. I hit my line exactly how I was wanting to and take a little slide through the skinny trees at the end and give myself a look for birdie and cash it. Hole 16 is fun. There's another lefty backhand gap that's pretty easy. If you can just hit that and land right into this grass, you can take a good skip up towards the basket and have an easy birdie. Unfortunately, some people will end up in that creek down there, but thankfully all water on Griffin Park is casual water and you don't have to take a penalty for it. In this round, I just barely squeeze around that log pile on the right and get quite the lucky skip, nearly flashing the chains on the bounce and tap in for birdie. Hole 17, you'll see me throw another forehand because those 2 trees that are right off the tee pad seem to grab every backhand that I ever throw. Instead, I'm going to be trying to lay it up kind of into the side of this hill and then usually just either getting a lucky roll and having a birdie putt or sticking up the hill and then pitching down and then tapping in for par. However, in this round, I turn it straight into the ground, and that lets you know that I don't doctor these videos, I take my first shot. That is not one that I would take if I were to have multiple shots off the tee. My second shot is okay, puts me right into the gap by that pine tree that guards the basket. Run it for par, can't quite get it to stick, and I am in the creek. Like I said earlier though, it is safe, it is not a penalty stroke, and have to take my shot from there and tap in for bogey. Hole 18 is one of the longest holes on Griffin Park, and not only is it long, but it has trees on both sides of the fairway. Technically, hole 2 is 1 foot longer, but I think hole 18 is much more difficult just due to all of the trouble that you can get in if you go off either side of the fairway. I'm going to go for a big flex forehand off the tee. I'm pretty happy with it out of my hand. Get it down the right and allows the natural fade to come back to the left, setting me right up in the center of the fairway and giving me a actually putt at the basket. I've never hit this birdie before and get quite close to it, but can't bring it in. Now I'm also kind of impeded by these branches on my putts and have to go to a knee, but stick it to make a par, and that brings me to -1 on the back nine and -2 for the round. I guess technically you could say it's not my record because I shot the 2 1-unders on different days, but oh well, it was good for YouTube and I'm glad that I was able to play well. With that being said, I'm hoping to do a couple more of these before I get bored of it, and I'll be back soon with the extra holes from Griffin Park.